Alright, today I got my hands on the Moto X from Motorola. It's Google's new phone. First things first, I want to apologize for my dirty hands. I was working on my car and that stuff, the grease does not come off. Anyway, to open up the back of the phone, take your prying tool and kind of go around the edge, the seam between the back plate and the screen, just kind of popping up the little latches, little clasps all around the back side. You'll hear a little click each time that you pop one out. The back is glued on pretty tight to the phone itself, so it's not going to come off easily. But once you're done unclipping the sides, you can peel it back just a little bit and slide your prying tool underneath. You gotta be really careful while you're doing this because there is a ribbon cable next to the volume buttons that you don't want to break. If you break it, you won't have volume buttons. Anyway, go ahead and slide it in. You can see the ribbon cable right here. It's also attached to the LED on the back of the phone. As you can see, to unlatch it, just lift up the little black clasp, tug a little bit on the ribbon cable, and it'll slide right out, and that'll release the back of the phone from the phone itself. You can see the blue sticky stuff that was holding it all down. Anyway, now we're going to take off the bottom. There are 4 screws on the bottom plastic section. Here's where they are. And once you get the screws out, you can just kind of lift up a little bit and the black section will come off. Right here you can see the charging port. It is soldered onto the board, so it's not easily replaceable. Anyway, lift up these 2 latches. They're kind of like Legos. Just put your little pry tool underneath and lift up and it'll unclasp. And then right here is the volume button ribbon cable. Just lift up the little clasp and slide out the ribbon cable and then latch it back down so you don't break it. And then this part, to release the battery, you do have to lift up this little ribbon cable that's glued onto the battery. Well, more like just the sticky tape stuff. It lifts up pretty easily once you get it started. Lift that up and off the battery, and then the battery will be free to be lifted off as well. You just have to take your prying tool and slide it underneath the battery. It's glued on pretty tight, so you'll have to use a little bit of force. I've already taken mine off once, so yours will be a little bit harder than this to lift up and off. You can see kind of where it's stuck, the sticky stuff on the back. Anyway, now the battery's out, so there's 5 more screws for the top of the phone, and this is kind of the plastic piece that holds on the camera and everything, like the little vibrator. And so once those 5 screws are out, just lift this up and off. And once again, I'm going to put all these replacement parts listed in the video description below. Amazon is where I usually get all my replacement parts from. Amazon Prime usually gets them here the fastest. Anyway, here's the top plastic piece. And then there's 2 screws right here next to the SIM card slot. I would recommend taking the SIM card out before you start this project, but you know, as long as you take it out right now, you'll still be fine. Just stick a paper clip works fine. My little tweezers are thin enough that I can press it in this little hole and the SIM card pops up and out. Now the motherboard, you gotta be careful when you're lifting this stuff off too, because there is a ribbon cable underneath the motherboard attaching it to the screen. Right there. So you can take that, lift up the little black clasp, and then you can slide the ribbon cable out, just like that, and then you freed the motherboard from the phone. The camera is also replaceable. Same ribbon cable, lift up the little clasp, and the camera slides out. You can replace it, pop a new one back in. Pretty simple. And then latch the clasp back down into place once the ribbon cable is fully inserted back into the phone. So this is the screen, the glass part, and the LCD. They are glued together, so if you crack your glass, you have to replace both parts and buy the whole component. You can't replace just the glass alone. There seems to be confusion about that, but they are definitely glued together. Anyway, so to put the phone back together, take the same ribbon cable, the digitizer cable, and slide it into the motherboard, latching the little black clasp down again. Set the motherboard into place. Make sure to lift up the front camera ribbon cable so there's no ribbon cables attached underneath, and make sure that the bottom ribbon cable isn't bent in any weird ways either when you put it back down. You don't want to damage anything when you're screwing everything back into place. Put the little metal bracket back in. There's two little screws that go onto the upper side here, and then the lower side right below that. Take the black plastic piece, clip that into place, and then there's those 5 screws that you took off that'll fit right around the edge of that again. There's the placement of those. Battery, slip it in, stick the little ribbon cable back down again. It'll still be sticky, so just kind of press it into place. And then we have the volume ribbon cable that I'm going to slide in and relatch. If you don't lift up the latch, it's not going to go in. So lift it up, slide it in, and then pinch it back down again. And then these 2 bottom cables for the battery and the antenna, just go ahead and click those into place, kind of like Legos again. And then the bottom plastic piece, and remember this one has 4 screws going around the bottom edge of it. And putting the SIM card back in the same slot it came out of. Check and make sure the phone works before I put the back on. And it looks like everything's going well. Alright, everything looks alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put the LED ribbon cable back into the slot and latch it back into place. And like I mentioned before, all the replacement parts and tools that I use for this project can be found in the video description below. I will put links to them. And then go ahead and clip around to the outside. You'll hear a series of satisfying clicks as you put everything back into place. And that's it. Anyway, if you have any questions, make sure to leave them in the comments below. You can also reach me on Twitter. And yeah, like if this video helped you, and don't forget to subscribe. Thanks for watching.